Earlier we met the notion of the signed change in a quantity. Remember we said that the signed change is always going to be the final value minus the starting value. So for example, if a quantity goes from 10 to 15, the signed change will be 15 minus 10, which is 5. On the other hand, if a quantity goes from 15 to 10, then the signed change will be 10 minus 15. Maybe you see what this is going to be. It's going to be 10 plus negative 15. Positive plus a negative, the negative is further from 0. The answer is going to be negative. We want subtraction, 15 minus 10. So this is going to be negative 5. And we used the word increase to refer to a positive change. So in this first example, 10 to 15 is an increase of 5. We used the word decrease to refer to a negative change. In the second example, 15 to 10 was a decrease of 5. Notice when we're using these words to indicate the sign, we do not also use the sign. If someone were to refer to a decrease of negative 3, that must be the opposite of a decrease of 3. A decrease of negative 3 is the same as an increase of 3. This is super confusing. Don't do this. When someone says a decrease of negative 3, it's impossible to know whether they actually mean what they said, whether they actually mean an increase of 3, or whether they actually meant a decrease of 3. This is math class. We should always mean what we say here, and we should also be clear about what we're saying. So never say a decrease of negative 3. It's a terrible idea. We use the word increase or decrease to indicate the sign, and it comes with a positive number, a number with no sign attached to it. All right, so we know how to find the signed change, and we know how to describe it. So far, not very useful, right? But here's the deal. We have this sentence. The change in a quantity is the final quantity minus the starting quantity. We can rewrite this sentence as a sentence involving addition. And we see that the final quantity is the starting quantity plus the change. So if I tell you that a quantity starts at 12 and decreases by 7, that means the starting quantity was 12, and the change was negative 7. The final quantity is going to be 12 plus negative 7. A positive plus a negative. The positive is larger, so my answer is going to be positive. The signs are opposite, so I want subtraction. 12 minus 7 is 5. Let me give you an exercise like this to try. Suppose that a quantity starts at 8 and increases by 9. Fill in the starting value and the change from the story, and then figure out the final value. Pause the video and try this now. All right. Well, my starting value is 8, and then the quantity increases by 9. That's a change of positive 9. The word increase tells me that the change is positive. And so the final value is going to be 8 plus 9 is 17. Again, always the starting value plus the change. So we know that the change is the final value minus the starting value. And then rewriting this as addition, we see that this is the same as saying that the final value is the starting value plus the change. What if we wanted to find out the starting value? Well, I could rewrite this sentence as subtraction again, except to find out the starting value, right? The starting value must be the final value minus the change. So if I tell you a quantity increases by 7 and has a final value of negative 12, well, the final value is negative 12, and the change was positive 7. Right? Increases by 7, so change is positive 7. We know that the starting value is equal to the final value minus the change, rewriting this subtraction as adding the opposite. These are both negative. The answer is going to be negative, and since they have the same sign, we want to add. 12 plus 7 is 19. We must have started at negative 19 if we increased by 7 and ended up at negative 12. Let me have you try one of these. Suppose a quantity decreases by 8 and has a final value of negative 2. Figure out what the starting value is. Pause the video and try this now. So the final value, it says, is negative 2. And the quantity decreased by 8. That's a change of negative 8. So the starting value is the final value minus the change. Rewriting this as addition, this will be negative 2 plus positive 8, right? The opposite of negative 8. Let's see, these have opposite signs. The positive number is bigger, so my answer is going to be positive. The signs are opposite, so I want subtraction. 8 minus 2 is 6. How do we approach then one of these problems where we know 2 of starting value, change, and final value, and we want to find the third one? Well, first we just list starting value, change, and final. And then we see which 2 we know and write down their values. And then we use one of the 3 variations on the definition of change. Either directly, change is final minus start, or rewriting this as addition, final is start plus change, or rewriting this as subtraction again, start is final minus change. These 3 sentences all express the same relationship. We use whichever form is most convenient for us.